Welcome back. And we get the like please out today, huh? Press the like button. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Another day, another dollar, another opportunity to improve ourselves, to better ourselves. Another beautiful Tuesday and some beautiful weather outside. 62 degrees. It's like a dream. Dream come true. Morning, morning. All right. Wait a few minutes for some people to jump in. You don't get to trade this week? So be it. Next week's another week. And then the week after that's another week. And then another week. And then another week. Always another opportunity, right? That's how I like to... You got to keep that in mind. $1 million day? One day. Morning, guys. Yeah, difficult day yesterday for sure. Market didn't really move. It was just straight up and then sideways pretty much the entire day. So not an ideal day for sure. A little bit difficult, and took a loss yesterday, which is, I'm actually pretty happy about it. I did well to understand that, it just wasn't going to be a day that I had great opportunities, and I walked away with the right portfolio percentage loss. When sometimes there's those days where the read is just not quite there, and we have to, you have to accept it, man. You have to accept it. I think, some people think that every day in the stock market's, a day that you're going to make $1 million. It's not, right? There's going to be days where are difficult. There's going to be days that are a little bit tricky, a little bit of sideways action, not great for option premiums. And your job in that kind of day is to protect your portfolio, right? Play protection. Make sure you can come back today, right? And look for new opportunities. So I'm excited, right? Excited to get back to maybe some action today. I'm sort of on the fence of actually seeing any action today. I will be honest with you. I'm thinking more of the same as of right now, guys. I think more of the same because we have earnings tomorrow with Tesla and Netflix, and I'm not sure the market's really going to make a major move before that event, right? So I don't know. I'm thinking defense today. You guys can see it in the title of the live stream. I'm thinking defensive today. I'm thinking, really wait for something that's clear. Really wait for some kind of real action. And just let things sort of, if things want to be sideways, if things want to be slow again, then just let it be. Let it be. You don't need to be there. You don't need to be involved. So that's my game plan today. Took a loss yesterday, and if I have to, leave it alone today, then so be it. All right, so be it. So really nice levels to be watching, right? The levels that we had on our chart yesterday were actually very valid, and I traded off my levels and actually had some really nice moves in my favor pretty instantly. But it was no real continuation, right? It was sort of up, down, slow action. Really nothing that I found nothing that really lit up and I said, okay, yeah, I like this a lot. So let's see what happens today. We'll watch to see the levels once again. There's some clear levels to be watching here. My only concern for today is how does the price action look, right? Is the price action actually there? That's the question mark. So let's get into it. Press that like button if you guys could. Press that subscribe button if you're new here. Let's get started. So, futures, as always, you guys know that. Economic earnings calendar. So let's pull up that economic calendar, and then let's pull up the earnings calendar, because the earnings calendar is pretty important this week. That's, I think, why you're seeing a little bit of slower action. and you're going to be seeing a little bit of increased IV, which is also causing some problems with the option premiums, right? So today, retail sales, 8:30 this morning. So we'll see what happens on the retail sales at 8:30, right? Maybe there's some action there that we can take advantage of. 9:15, industrial production, capacity utilization. 10:30, some Fed president speaking. 10:45, Fed president. 10:30, Fed president. So really, main event today is retail sales, and then we'll see if that can spark some kind of a move. Yeah. Next, right? Wednesday, housing starts, building permits, some Fed presidents. Thursday, jobless claims. You got Jerome Powell speaking on Thursday. You got a lot of Fed presidents speaking today, right? A lot of Fed presidents. Well, hear what you think about earnings season. Zach, I don't know, man. I don't really care about it, right? I just watch the intraday, guys. I don't know about you guys, but at least for me, in my trading, I erase my memory every single morning, right? Or after I stop trading for the day, my memory is erased. That is what I plan to do, right? That's what's kept me successful. I invest for the long term. You guys know I have a long-term portfolio. I invest for the long term, but I also think and believe that trading should be different. Everything is different on a daily basis here in this market. Every day is different. So I keep it that way, right? I don't try to guess what's going to happen in 2 weeks. I don't try to guess what's going to happen on this event, on that event. I keep as unbiased opinion as I can every single morning, and I trade whatever I see, right? That's all I do. I don't try to cloud my judgment with all these other things that are going on in the world, in the market. It's just, it's what's happening today, right? What are the levels today, and where can I find reactions today, right? That's how I sort of look at it, all right? I think that's a pretty good, at least for me, I think it's a pretty good way to trade, right? I really don't think you try to guess what earnings are going to do. You don't try to guess, what's going to happen over the next quarter. This seasonality that. October's weak, December's strong. All this BS, in my opinion, that really just doesn't really correlate to anything. You're going to make money on the intraday, right? So why not just focus on that? So here's the earnings calendar, right? And so this morning we had Bank of America, Lockheed Martin, Goldman Sachs, which actually the banks had some pretty good earnings this morning. We will look at those later in the stream. After hours today, Interactive Brokers, United. Tomorrow, right, is sort of the big event. ASML is sort of big for semiconductors, Procter & Gamble. And then later day tomorrow, after close tomorrow, Tesla and Netflix, right? These are big, right? These are big. Tesla and Netflix. I think this is what the market is waiting for, right? I think this is the catalyst that you're going to want to look for, right? To see if there's some kind of a wake up here. Hopefully Tesla can do something nice that we can trade, right? Hopefully Netflix can get a move on that we can trade. We just want movement. That's what we want here on Tesla and on Netflix. Thursday, we have TSM in the pre-market, which will be interesting for semiconductors as well. I'm excited to see what happens there. And that's about it, right? That's about it. Don't waste your time with fundamental analysis. I mean, man, if fundamental analysis means zero on an intraday basis. Fundamental analysis is maybe good for, long term, but fundamentals do not drive a market on an intraday basis. Not at all. So if you're here to trade options in the short term, then fundamentals are a waste of your time. If someone wanted an update on the long term, I'll go ahead and post that right here. Here's an update on my long term, guys. Here's sort of some of the moves I've been making. So here's my long term. Graph has been, you guys can see, right, since beginning of the year. Graph has sort of flattened, right, with the market sort of staying pretty flat to sort of down in the short term over the last few months. So the overall equity graph has been pretty flat. Nvidia still juiced, man. I love Nvidia, of course. Tesla, Apple, AMD, Microsoft, Google, Netflix, Shopify, AbbVie. Here's the Uber investment that I've been making. I've been starting to add some money to Uber, Home Depot, Boeing, Caterpillar, and some dividend stocks. But this is my newest change. I'm adding 5% to Uber. I just like Uber long term. I'm going with like the investment strategy of I just don't think Uber will ever go away. I just think that Uber has been engraved in the human mind, the human every day, right? I don't see a world without Uber. Maybe there's a different company, 10 years from now that makes it better, right? Maybe Tesla does something better. Maybe someone else creates an automated taxi, or someone creates a better service for getting people around. But I just don't believe that there is a world without Uber. I think many Americans rely on this just to get around, especially in cities, even not in cities, right? Nights out, right? What do? You call an Uber, right? You're going out with the boys. What are we doing? We're calling an Uber, right? You're going out for a bachelor party. What are we doing? We're calling an Uber, right? It's just that's my investment strategy. It's probably not, who knows? I don't care, right? It's $3,000, but that's sort of my idea for it. That's why I figured I'd share it with you. I'm going to throw some money, 5%, and see if I can hold this thing long term, right? But obviously, there's a whole lot more money up here in the other names. So that's my long term. I also have a SEP IRA that I put money into. If you guys were not aware, I sort of just buy the VU and the VYM in M1 as well. So yeah, update on that. But that's sort of my one of my just sort of set and forget for portfolios for the long term. All right, let's continue. Tesla, Nvidia, Apple, Google, AMD, Meta, and then the banks. Let's get started. Let's just jump right into it. All right, so NASDAQ, right? NASDAQ. It's an interesting move, man. It's an interesting move. It's a little bit hard to read as of right now. So here's the first thing I want to point out. The first thing I want to point out is that I do believe that the NASDAQ held a pretty important low yesterday, right? I do believe that the hold of the NASDAQ around this 15,060 was very key yesterday, right? That is still creating a higher low on the NASDAQ, right? So over the last, let's call it over the last 4 weeks, the NASDAQ is potentially creating a higher low, right? You guys can see right here. Here's a low, which was at the previous highs. So that's important, right? That's something to pay attention to. Now, right, does this actually create upside? That's a question to be seen. And do we get it today? That's another question that I'm not sure of. But overall, if we look at a longer term view here, I think this low that came in yesterday and Friday is very important, right? Because that is a little bit of a hold of a trend, right? You guys can see a little bit of a hold of a trend. It's a hold of the 20 SMA. It's a hold at the previous rejection points, right? We can see previous rejections here, and we were able to maintain these previous highs as a new demand. So until the NASDAQ breaks under this low, I think you need to be cautious of getting too aggressive on the downside, right? There's definitely short side plays, right? There's absolutely short side plays in the short term, right? There's definitely scalps intraday to this downside. But I think you need to be a little bit cautious getting too aggressive to the downside until this low breaks, right? If this low breaks, then I think, we're off to the races to the downside. And I think it gets real slippery. And that's definitely a larger term move that I would look to take on a break back below this previous high and Friday and yesterday lows. That's 15,060. So if we get that move, right, let's say Netflix and Tesla report terrible earnings and we do get a big NASDAQ drop below that 15,060, then we want to be ready for it, right? And that could be a really nice short side setup, maybe back down into the lows of around 14,600, right? Back in this channel from back here. Until then, right, I think this area is going to be a very difficult trade, and we saw that happen yesterday, right? I think that this area here is going to be a very difficult sideways trade that you're going to have to play very protective in, guys. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park, and you saw that yesterday. So yesterday, right, we pretty much just rallied straight off the open, right into supply. We rallied, we went straight up. We did catch a little bit of a rejection at the 15,260 yesterday. If you guys are in the chat, you remember that. We talked about that 15,260 supply. That was from back here. I'm actually going to put that back on my chart here. That 15,260 and that 50 SMA, right? We caught a little bit of a supply rejection there yesterday. The reason for that supply rejection is, I'll show you guys in a second, right? The reason there was some rejections there early morning was the previous lows. We talked about this on the stream, Tuesday and Wednesday lows, right? That was Tuesday and Wednesday lows that we traded right into yesterday morning. I'll go to the 5-minute chart. You guys can see right here, 5-minute, popped into supply, went into the 50, rejected, right? And so this is where I took my first short setup here, right? I shorted in the morning off this 50 SMA rejection, caught a little bit of a piece, but it was no such continuation that gave me, my nice, 20-30% trade. So that was tough, right? I did catch a great entry, but really not much continuation for me in that area. So we held, right? And where did we hold? The key is where we held. And so now I want to break down to the 15-minute chart and talk a little bit about the holds that are potentially coming in. Potentially. So the first level that I think you need to watch for on the downside is the Thursday, Friday lows. It's right here. Thursday and Friday lows. And the low from yesterday, actually, right, in that little panic to the downside intraday yesterday, I think this 15,220 area is going to be important, right? 15,220, it's Thursday, Friday lows, and yesterday's low as well. That little intraday low. That's the first level I'm watching to see if the NASDAQ does any kind of a hold in this area. If the NASDAQ breaks that level, then I think you will quickly come back down into here, right? Into 15,180, 15,185, right? That'll be your next level that we move down into, right here. 15,185, the previous highs between Friday and Monday. You have these, you guys can see right here, these after-hour highs, these future level highs around that 15,185. That would be the next move to the downside. So the first one I'm watching today is Thursday, Friday lows, right? Very clear. Thursday, Friday lows, 15,220, right, in that zone. The next lows I'm watching is 15,185, right? So those are the two levels I'm watching if we get downside here for potential demand. I'm not that interested in trading the downside here. The way that this is moving lower is just really not aggressive, and I think that this is still could potentially hold some of these previous lows and previous highs. So I'm definitely cautious getting too aggressive to the short side into some of these major levels, right? These are definitely levels to be paying attention to. These are not sort of forget about levels. You have previous double bottom lows here, which is very important, and you could definitely see reactions at that level right now as we speak, which you are seeing as of right now as we speak. So I don't want to be too short into that, right? If we do break that, maybe there's a little scalp here into the 15,185, but then you have to be cautious holding shorts into this, right? Into this previous high around that 15,185. So a little bit of a tight range, right? Very precise, very quick scalps in this area. This could be very tricky today, right? You got to watch these previous lows. You got to watch these highs here, and you have to just be a scalper, right? You got to be really scalp-like because nothing really is continuing. You get little moves and then sort of reversals. So if you do get those demand holds today, right, to go long today, you need to get over the 15,260, right? I don't think you want to long back into these previous lows. You can see right here, previous low, and you can see that level stepped up all day yesterday, right? And this was the level that I posted on Twitter yesterday. So here I'm going to go back to sort of why I just couldn't get anything to really continue for me today or yesterday, right? So here on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, this was something, there's my red day. This is something I posted yesterday, waiting to see if the NQ can maintain over this previous high a day and the 50 SMA at 15,260, right? That was my read, 15,260 intraday yesterday. I was looking for a break, a retest, a hold here, and then a push to the upside. So you can see we did get that, right? Look at this. This is sort of what made yesterday sort of a difficult trade for me, right? So we got that exact thing. You can see we got that big push, we got that break, we got that retest, and we got that curl to the upside. Now, right as the NASDAQ was curling to the upside, you had a little 5-minute meltdown, right, that instantly followed. So, yeah, I mean, I got a piece on this. I took some profits into this push, right, because I understood that we had the high a day and the 100 SMA above. So I was profit taking into that push. But, obviously I was not planning on a 5-minute meltdown that was about to ensue literally a minute after I got that profit taking move. And then right after that, it went right back to the mean, right? So just a mess yesterday. Don't be upset if you messed up some of this yesterday. It's one of those days, man. It's one of those days. It's not easy, right? This is not, when you look back and you look at, if you talk to your buddies or someone's telling you how much money they made in the stock market, I can guarantee you that they did not make that money on a NASDAQ market that looked like this yesterday, right? It was probably one of those days where we just went up all day or down all day, right? So, it is what it is. It's one of those sort of choppier days that you just sort of forget about. So going back to my original point, right? If you want to long something today, I would not be long until you get above that 15,260 and get back above that area, right? I would not want to be long back into that 15,260, that 50 SMA today. That's concerning, right? That's concerning. So not really interested in that, right? And so once we get into Nvidia, I'll talk about the Nvidia and why I missed that trade. But to go back to the NASDAQ, 15,260, 50 SMA above, and then this 15,220 demand, that's what I would be watching in the immediate term here, all right? That's what I'd be watching in the immediate term, all right? 15,220, 15,260. You need to get a break out of this channel. The next demand is 15,185. And the next supply is up here, right? We can clearly see how heavy the NASDAQ supply is up around this 15,350 and 100 SMA, right? This is no joke up here. This is no joke, right? We can clearly see that. So if you do get any type of move to the upside today, you better be a profit taker as we approach this area, right? That's heavy stuff up there, all right? Hopefully that makes sense. Let's go to the QQQ. So QQQ, pretty clean. I mean, it's pretty obvious what levels we're watching here. You guys can see right here on the hourly chart, right? We can clearly see this 367.50 level. You might even bring it down to around that 50 and 100 SMA at 367, right? So you can clearly see, right? I don't care if the market goes, if the market goes straight down at open, where the market currently is absolutely not a short, right? And here's why that's my mind, right? This is why I would never take a short where the current market is on the NASDAQ. So if something just goes straight down today, I need to get more time here, then so be it, right? And if it gets under and breaks and retest, then sure, I'll look for it. But this is definitely not a short for me, and let me explain why. So it's not a short until it does something else, which I'll explain as well. So you guys can see right here, right? Hourly chart. You can see that demand 367, 367.50. If we go over, look right here, right? 367, 367.50, right here, right there, right? This is a big level. This 367.50 is a big level. Now, if we go to the 15-minute and we get a little bit more time here, you guys can see just in the short term, look at 367.50. Look at how it's reacted on the short term, right? Look at this. You had 367.50. You had 367.50, 367.50, right? And look at yesterday, right? 367.50. That is the exact level that we held after the meltdown intraday yesterday. So if we go to the 1-minute chart, look at this yesterday, right? The meltdown, where did that wick hit? 367.50. Boom, right back to the upside. So Are you going to, and this is where you need to understand risk to reward, right? You need to understand risk to reward if you're going to take successful trades. There is absolutely no reason to be shorting where we currently are into 367.50, into the 50 SMA, into the 100 SMA. Trying to short through this area is like trying to kill the White Walkers. I don't know why that popped into my head. Yeah, absolutely not, right? I'm absolutely not taking shorts into 367.50, 367. That's just crazy to me. I would not want to be part of that battle. I'll watch the battle from up high, right? I'll be a vulture, sort of flying in the air, waiting to see what happens in the battle of 367, right? That's what I'll do. I'll wait to see. That's what I like to do. I like to be the vulture. I don't want to be in that battle. I want to be up high. I want to watch to see what happens. So if once I start to see, okay, the enemies are dropping, right? If I start to feel the side that's starting to drop, right? Which side's starting to win? And then once I get that feeling that I have once I get some kind of confidence that I see which side is winning, I'll come down and I'll strike, right? So that's sort of how I trade. If I could put that in an analogy, that's how I trade, right? I don't want to be part of that battle too much. I want to wait. I want to see. I want to get an idea of who's winning that battle, and then I want to strike. Sometimes I strike incorrectly, right? Sometimes I strike incorrectly, and I get killed. And then sometimes I strike correctly, and it was a nice, easy win. So I'm looking for that move. I'm looking to see what happens at that 367, 367.50. If we start to see demand step up here and I start to see the bulls winning, right, then I'm going to look for that push. If I see us break this level, turn it into rejections, right, then I'll look for that aggressive downside. So this 367, I think, is your major key today, right? I think this is your major key, right? Dive bomb trading, pretty much. I'm just dive bomb. Once I see who's winning, I'm a dive bomb in. So 367, 367.50, and again, I know you can't see this, but I want to make sure you understand. There's a thick boy here, right? You got to make sure you know that. I wish I can move this. There's a thick boy right there, right? So you got to be careful trading into these thick boys right there, right? Look at those. They're just sitting right under, right? And they can absolutely create some type of a demand, right? They can absolutely create some type of a demand right below there. 50, 100 SMA lined up right in that area. So big watch there today, guys. That's your main watch on the QQQ. All right, ES. So we talked about that bull flag on ES, right? It actually worked out pretty well, but we could not break above the high, right? That's the problem. You could not break above the high. There was a nice flag breakout, but the high is still very much there, right? So that's very important to understand. You can see this nice flag, right? Right there, nice flag. Nice break of that yesterday and a nice squeeze, but we still rejected the supply highs, which is very important. All right, so this still does not seem ultra bearish to me, right? And I'm a little bit cautious re-shorting into this, right? This could sort of be maybe a cup and handle, right? A little bit of a break and then a handle for that next push, right? I still think that's really a possibility here, and that's why I'm staying sort of defensive, especially on the short side, because traditionally, guys, I mean, when you really think longer term here, when you really zoom out, traditionally, I mean, if we just go back to like the last year of price action, shorting while we're near the 200 SMA really doesn't give us the juiciest trades, right? As we get near that 200 SMA, I just don't really like getting too aggressive on the short side. And you can see, right, just over the last few days, right, we're coming off that 200 SMA, right? We're coming off that 200 SMA on the ES. So while there is, yes, of course, there's short side scalps, right? Absolutely. There's short side scalps yesterday, gorgeous short side scalps at that 44.10, right? But we need to also sort of keep that longer term in mind. I'll get back to that after we jump into the retail sales and see what we got here. So a little bit of a downside move, right? Dump. That's my chart today. How's that? Does that look good? Press the like button. Press it. Yeah, a little bit of downside. Let's check the SPY to check the numbers. Retail sales, 0.6 versus 0.2 estimated, and then 0.9 was prior. 0.6 versus a 0.2 estimation. So higher than estimates, less than prior. So back to the ES. Non-event, really. There's really nothing going on right now. 4380, right? 4380 is your level, I think, today, right? And here's why. Why 4380? Here's why. Right here. Previous highs, previous lows, right? Yesterday, we had that little hold at 4380. Let me show you that. Go to the 5-minute chart. See this right here? See this yesterday? 4380. Very key. So, what am I watching today? 4380, right? I think that is your level to watch. You guys can see there's previous highs, previous lows, right? And that 4380 level. That is going to be the level to watch in the short term for demand, right here. 4380 is my short-term demand level to be watching. If we get under 4380, then you have to watch this low, 4365, 4365, 4365, and that area that held yesterday morning at 4365. So again, right? Again, I'm just still not that comfortable shorting this market here because not into these levels, right? The short up here is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, right? This is a great short, and it was once again a great short yesterday. So if I want to short the market today, I need the pops, right? I need the pops into the 4410. That's what I'm looking for. Give me a pop in the 4410 supply, and let me see if I can get a little bit of a short-term rejection of that level. But I'm really not interested in shorting into 4380, 4365, right? The 20 SMA, right? And also on top of that, the 200 SMA, right? I'm really not interested in battling these battles to the downside unless I'm in at the extreme supply highs, right? If I'm in up here, I'll feel comfortable to try to hold it out. But I'm not going to be taking entries at these levels, right? I'm not taking entries at these levels because in my eyes, these levels are potential demand holds still. So I'm going to watch 4380 today. I'm going to watch 4365. Those are my two demand levels I'm watching to the downside to see if there's any type of hold. I think the only short that I would be interested in today is a bounce in the morning and a weak rejection, right? A weak bounce, dead cat bounce, both bull trap bounce into 4410 and that supply again. That's probably the only short I'm interested in. Because I just don't want to short as you approach the 20. I don't want to short as you approach the 200. I'm just really not interested in that area. So 4380, 4365, you got the 200 and the 20 SMA below here. And then the 4410, that is the brick wall above, guys. That is a brick wall above. You can clearly see that. Very, very, very heavy supply up here at 4410, 4420. Very difficult to get above, right? Very difficult to get above. So that's interesting. The other thing I wanted to point out is I don't want to delete these, but I'm going to have to. Let me just move them to sort of get my point across here. I'm going to move them back in a second. I want to make sure you understand this without these intermediary levels, right? In the grand scheme of things, right, when we really zoom out and get that larger term picture over the last 3 weeks, this is a higher low on the ES, right, in the short term. This is still a higher low on the ES, right? So that's sort of what's keeping me away from shorting, right? Because traditionally when I short, I like that stair-stepping down, right? I love to short those stair-step downs, right? That's the juicy shorts, right? When you stair-step lower and you get that previous low to turn into a new rejection point, something like this, right? when you get that previous low to turn into a new rejection point, I love that break and retest short. But what's happening here, right? What's happening on this structure, right? This is market structure, right? What is this market structure? This market structure is previous highs turning into new support, right? That's this right here. This is what's going on in the market right now, right? You got the previous highs over here turning into new support. Previous highs turning into new support. Not sure I like shorting into that potential short-term trend. So that's sort of what's in my mind. That's sort of, you got to understand what the market's doing as of right now. And I think the ES is potentially doing that, and so is the NASDAQ. However, right, there's still short-term downside plays that be out there, right? There's still, of course, short-term downside trades out there off the supply highs, which we can absolutely see. So today on the SPY, right, 437, we had this level marked out yesterday. What a rejection of it was, right? 437, beautiful, very nice supply, triple top supply on the SPY. I would want to see a move under 432 to potentially take that short side play, right? I would want to see a move under 432 to take that short side play. So 432 is my demand low, and 437 is my supply high. As long as we trade between that, this is nothing but a channel trade on the SPY, guys, right? You can clearly see it. It's the previous lows, right, from Tuesday of last week, right here, previous lows. It's Thursday of last week lows. It's this yesterday pre-market hold lows. And so this just continues to hold on. So if you do bounce low, if you do drop lower into this 432, I would be very cautious getting entries on shorts around here. I would want something very clear, something very slippery to the downside before taking that short, right? The other short is, of course, a pushback to the upside and a rejection of 437, right? That's a great entry up there. But you probably don't want to be taking entries as you start to approach the lows of 432, even down into like the 431.50, even down into like the 430, right? Even down into this 430, you have some demand that stepped in. So a little bit of a difficult area there. This whole zone that's sort of below here has seen some very interesting holds that you need to be aware of if you are shorting this market. So I would want to see probably a break under the 20 SMA, right? If you can get a break under the 20, then I would look for that continuation. Until then, this is simply a channel trade, and you better respect the channel to profit in this market, right? If you didn't respect the channel over the last week, then you possibly didn't make money, right? So if you shorted at these lows, you lost. If you longed at the highs, you lost. If you shorted at the lows, you lost. If you longed at the highs, you lost. If you shorted at the lows, you lost. If you longed at the highs, you lost. If you shorted at the lows, you lost. And if you longed at the highs yesterday, you lost. So we're not going to short at the lows, and we're not going to long at the highs. We got to respect the channel that we're in and play those levels until they're wrong, right? There's always going to be that one time that you're wrong, right? You're going to try to short these. You're going to try to long these lows, and it's not going to hold, right? And you're going to have to take your loss. But you're going to have to man up, and you're going to have to take it and accept that the market did not hold the structure point. That's not your own fault, right? You're just trading on what's happened in the past. Or you're going to try to short the highs, which is a very valid trade, very logical trade, and maybe there's one time where it breaks out. And you have to take your loss, and you need to move on, right? And you can't cry about taking a loss by taking a good trade, right? That's a valid trade. You take that all day. But sometimes it's not going to work out, of course. All right? I'm not going over the Dow or the Russell. You guys can look at it yourself. All right? Tesla. Let's get into some stocks. Tesla, first of all, I don't recommend trading Tesla. That's my first thing for you. I don't recommend trading Tesla today. IV is going to be high. Contracts are going to be juiced. However, this is a very clean rejection point, right? You can very clearly see our supply is rejecting here on Tesla, right? Very clear. Previous 245 or 254, 255 supply highs. Very clear rejections at that 20 SMA stepping in. Very interesting. Now, if you don't think this is going to be a mess, then you are wrong, right? This is going to be a mess, right? If you take shorts around this 254, 255, my assumption is that everything under that into the 50, into the 100, into that 248, right? This is all going to be very, very messy, right? All into this area. So careful in there, right? Careful in there. I don't love that area to be short just because of, right? Look at this yesterday action. Look at this yesterday action. All right, sure, if you shorted the supply highs, you got a fantastic entry, right? However, I mean, look at this disaster, right? This is not what you want to be a part of, guys, if you're looking for shorts. You want a very nice little supply rejection that leads to a nice downside move, right? That's the move you want to be in. And so do I think that happens today after seeing yesterday, knowing that earnings is tomorrow? No, I don't think that happens, right? And if I'm wrong, then pleasantly surprised, right? Pleasantly surprised. But as of right now, I do not think that Tesla is going to give you anything clean here. Look at the 100 SMA. Look at the 50 SMA. Those thick boys are just in your way on any shorts. I'm not a fond of it. I would stay away from Tesla today. That's all I'm going to give you. All right. Nvidia. So big level here around this 450. Let me get the hourly chart. Here we go. So hourly chart on Nvidia, right? We can see Nvidia has broken trend. That's number one. Trend broken. Bam, broken. So that's gone, right? Now, potentially starting a new trend, right? Potentially starting the new trend, the downtrend. That's interesting. Now, what's the level that's key today? Right here. The 50 SMA, 448, 450. This is major. This is major stuff, right? You guys can see right here. Previous highs, previous lows, low from yesterday. 50 SMA thick boy. You have the 448, 450 area. Very big area here, right? Very big area in this 448, 450. This is going to be a big watch, all right? If Nvidia holds here, this could be a little bear trap, right? That's very possible. If Nvidia moves under that 50, this could also be a very nice downside into the 440 and the 20 SMA. So I will be watching the 50 SMA today like a hawk. If I see us start to move under that, if I see us reject yesterday's pre-market lows, then I'm looking for the downside into 440. If we start to hold this level, if the demand starts to step up strong at the 50 SMA, then there's very much a potential long opportunity back into the 460 area. Something to be watching very closely today. All right? Apple, Google, AMD. Apple, I can't really get away from looking at this weekly chart. I'm going to be honest, guys. This is a very interesting weekly chart. I'm going to delete everything on my chart, and I'm just going to show you this weekly. It's a very interesting weekly chart. I'm not going to lie. I don't know exactly where these demand lows come in on the weekly because it's sort of a mess. It's really not perfectly clean, right? But this is a very interesting weekly flag here. And I would love to see Apple actually do this. This would be an awesome Apple move. So I don't know if you're going to get it, right? Maybe it's these previous weekly highs here that hold on really well around this 170, 172. I mean, that's pretty sexy looking to me. Do you actually get that move? That's a whole nother question. But that is a sexy look in my eyes. And I would love to actually get that. You know, we'll see if Apple has the strength. The market's going to have to push aggressively. We're going to have to be back in a really strong upside market, obviously, for this to work out. But if that does come into end of year, this could be a really nice little trade here that I'm going to be sort of keeping an eye on for that longer term idea. This is a weekly chart, so it's a very large time frame, but it's a very interesting chart. And sometimes it pays to look back and get an idea of what's sort of forming on, let's say, a weekly chart here, because pretty nice. Do I ever get tired? I do, man. I do. I think the only thing that keeps me going is my passion for this. I don't think I truly believe that if you try to become a trading YouTube person, or if you try to do YouTube at all, you are going to burn out unless you actually like what you do. YouTube is probably one of the most time-consuming, and it's not as easy as people like. Most people think, oh, you're a YouTuber. Oh, what a great life. No, it's not easy, man. So I think, I'm definitely tired at times, Rod, but I think it's just the passion that keeps me going, because if I didn't have that, I'd be burnt out for sure. So Apple, 4-hour chart on Apple, right? We can clearly see the supplies, right? We can clearly see the supplies on Apple. We can see the 100 SMA, right? We can see the previous rejections here. We can see the rejections there, right? That's clear as day. So we're not going to long Apple on that weekly chart if we're seeing 4-hour supply rejections, right? We're not going to long Apple if we're seeing 4-hour. Nvidia broke the lows. Okay. Yeah. We'll see. That thing's getting sort of beat down today, huh? Yeah, something to watch over there. Apple, back to Apple. Very clear supply rejections up at that 100 SMA, right? Very clear. The demand that continues to step in is 177, right? Right in this area over here. Let me zoom in. Really, this is just a larger term channel, to be honest, but you can watch this 177 level as an intermediary level right in here. 177 and that 20 SMA below is an important level to be watching. However, we can see very clear demand, very clear supply rejection that came in here around this 182, 100 SMA. Nice break of trend, right? And so I would be watching this 177 today. If Apple breaks under 177, right, that could cause the market to move lower today. You do also need to be cautious of this yesterday low, however, right? There's still some demand. I'm actually going to move the demand lower. I'm going to reassess this. I'm actually going to move the demand down to this 176. 176 and this 20 SMA. That's where I would be careful, right? That would be the demand low I'd watch. Apple, 176 right here is that previous day low. It's the previous low here, and it's the 20 SMA. That would be the demand low I'd watch. If you break under that 20, then I think you get that downside continuation. If you break under this 20 SMA, that's your downside continuation right there. Until then, Apple could very well just sort of chill out here and stay within this channel. Google, AMD, Meta. We got to go soon. Let's go speed round. Google. I've been trying to short Google 140 for about a week and a half now. And every time I take it, I take a little loss. So yesterday, again, I tried to take the 140 rejections, and it just didn't quite give me anything. Does it happen today? I mean, this is as clear as day a heavy supply level on Google. 140, 141, keep an eye on that level today. Again, I don't know if it's going to give you the juice. Whenever it breaks this 4-hour channel, it's going to give you the juice. That's what I'm waiting for. So Google 140, 141, watch that 4-hour channel. Next is AMD. I'm very interested in AMD today. Very. This is probably my top watch, actually. And that's very strange for me to say that AMD is my top watch. But the only reason I say that is because I think this chart is very, very clear. You can see very clear stair stepping to the upside. Very clear 100 SMA double top supply rejection, right? And a potentially very clear trend break under 105. If AMD shows any sign of rejections at 105, I am swooping Brand's three-eyed hawk, three-eyed raven, whatever it is, right down into that battle. So I'm going to be watching 105 today. I'm going to be looking to see if AMD turns 105 into rejections, and if I sniff it out at all, if I smell any scent of 105 rejections today on AMD, I am absolutely going to be looking for downside on this 4-hour major trend break, right? This could be a major 4-hour trend break. This could be juicy, right? So big watch there. Last one I got for you today, guys, is Meta. That's the last one I got. And Meta, I would just watch 320 today. I think 320 is the level to watch. There's been some pretty important levels at this 320, 320, 320, 320. I would monitor 320 on Meta. What was the Nvidia news? U.S. official says new rule restrict exports of chips to foreign units of companies headquarters in China, Macau, and other countries. No shit. Wow. Yeah, they've done. I don't know, man. Good for the trading day, right? Good for some opportunity to the downside. Definitely is definitely moving lower. Piff, you got puts? Oh man, Piff's got puts. All right, well this is sort of gone. Now we got to watch this demand, right? Horned up bears into demand. Be careful here, horned up bears. Careful, you horned up bears, into that 440. 440, 20 SMA, 100 SMA. Demand at 440. Careful on that. All right. All right, guys. If you guys could, press that like button. I did not even run an ad on you today. I mean, can you press the like button? I didn't run an ad. I'm about to. If we can't get, let's get like 1,200 likes, man. We got 2,000 people in here. Can we get 1,200 likes? That's 800 of you that don't need to do shit. Just 1,200. Press the like button. 800 of you, you don't need to do anything. Yeah, I'm done. I'm not going back to Meta. It's over. Live stream's over. Press the like button. Subscribe to the channel. I'm running an ad. All right. If you don't have an ad right now, I love you guys. Thank you so much for the support. If you have an ad, you're not going to see this. Have a fantastic day. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Yeah.